Um, okay.
Okay, sorry.
I hope that we'll have very successful collaboration, both with the Wolep team and with you, the lawyers members of Wolep. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ina, and I'm sure that will be the case. So again, welcome to the Wolep team as we are expanding and broadening our horizons. I'm sure that she is a very valuable addition to the team. So moving on to the topic of today's webinar, I would like to welcome our keynote speaker, Mrs. Cristina Guelfi. Mrs. Guelfi will be presenting a webinar regarding the internationalization process of business contracts, and she will be referring specifically to aspects of the agency contract in Italy and Spain. This is not by chance, because Mrs. Guelfi's law firm, the Guelfi and Novelli law firm, which is a member of the Wolep network, operates both in Italy and in Spain. So they also have offices in Milan as well as Madrid, Spain. Hence the subject of today's webinar. Mrs. Guelfi is a valued member of our network. She's a company lawyer, but also an academic, cooperating with the University of Pavia in Italy concerning the employment and commercial law. She also cooperates with Italian newspapers, Italia Oggi and Sole 24 Hours, 24 Ore, founding partner Studio Legale, Guelfi and Novelli, of course. She's a specialist in labor law, compliance, corporate, civil and labor, conflict in court, arbitration and negotiations. And Mrs. Guelfi agreed to host this Wolep webinar to showcase her expertise, but also in order to get to know her Wolep colleagues better. So I'm glad that we have this chance to network a bit more. And I will offer Mrs. Guelfi the chance to introduce herself, but last but not least, I would like to quote her. It is a quote from our Wolep talk that we had, I think, 2 or maximum 3 months ago. And the quote is, the respective one is, the way of contracting has changed greatly internationally, not only with the countries outside the EU, but also inside the EU bloc. Mrs. Guelfi was referring specifically to the situation generated by the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic that we all lived through. And regarding the agency contracts, some aspects are equal because they are regulated by EU directives, but there are also big differences between the two states, namely concerning the remuneration of the agent when he is dismissed by the company. That is the integral quote from Mrs. Guelfi. So I will offer you the chance to expand these quotes, Mrs. Guelfi. Welcome and good luck with the presentation today. I will share it in an instant. So again, hello.
Yes. Hello, many thanks. Hello, good afternoon to everybody. Theodore, please, could you share the slide for the presentation?
Yes, sure.
Yes, I'm glad to be here. Yes, that's perfect. Good. I'm glad to be here and to meet you, every one of you, as a colleague. And I think to share this issue about the agency contract, because I think that is a matter that is regulated on the European Union. So we can We can talk about European Union aspect of this contract, of this agency contract. So when we talk about, we can go on with the slide. Theodore, okay. So when we talk about the agency contract, we talk about a universal tool for indirect selling. Why it is a universal? In fact, it is recognized in both European and non-European countries. So we know that the agency contract is an important contract, both for European and non-European country. If the agent is from a non-European country, the agency contract is not subject to precise regulation. We can think to USA. If we do an agreement, an agency agreement with an agent, with a residence of the USA, for example, the regulation is different because in the USA, for example, the regulation, some aspect that the European Union and each member state of the European Union provide with the specific regulations. In USA, this profile didn't exist. So this is the first problem. So if the agent is from a non-European country, the agency contract is not subject to precise regulation. By this I mean that the aspect of obligations, duty, possible terminations, indemnities are not regulated, but only the aspect of the commission. If, on the other hand, the agent belongs to a member state of the European Union, a series of restrictions that each particular country provides must be respected. So Italy is a member state of the European Union that set up a strict legal aspect for using this kind of contract. So on the next slide, we can see that what is the contract? Of course, first of all, it is important that this kind of contract must be written. So it must be a written document. In Italy, it's not possible to set up this contract speaking or sending an email, for example, both the party, both the principal and the agents. So it is important that it must be written in a legal document, in agreement, in a real agreement. So the agreement should be made in writing. It is not possible regulate the terms and the condition by mail or by speaking. Why this? Because in case of a trial, the first thing that the judge requires is to see and to analyze the terms and conditions of the contract under the Italian legislation. But I think also that it could be the same in French, in German, and in Spanish regulation. This is an important aspect because the mostly of my clients, of my principal, that company that use this kind of a contract, they think that is a simple contract and that everything can regulate, set up by speaking with the agents the single terms and condition. this is wrong. This is great. This is wrong because in the eventually of a trial, it is important to say, no, I have to regulate this aspect in this way. I pay the social contribution in Italy. In fact, on the next slide, we can see that the one when we talk about the international agency contract, we have to set up the governing law is an aspect, because when we work in an international in international agreements, Italian and USA, but also Italian, Spain, Italian and French, we can say, okay, but what is the governing law, the Spanish law or the Italian law, for example? So this is important because we can see that there are many differences between, for example, the Spanish and Italian law. The clause, the structure of the agency contract could be considered quite similar, but there are some different aspects. So for example, how can I manage if I'm an agent and the client that I provided in favor of my company, of the company, how can manage if the client didn't pay the company? I am the agent, I have the right to be remunerated for my fee or not, for example. In Spain, this aspect is regulated in a way, but in Italy, the judge regulate this aspect in another way, because in Italy, the main difference that in Italy, the agency contract is regulated by the civil code, okay, but not only, it is regulated also by a national collective bargaining of the agency. So the national collective bargaining of the agency set up a better condition for the agents than the provision provided by the civil code, the Italian civil code. And this is the real difference between the Italy and the other state of the member state, union member states. So this is important because the agency in Italy, on the next slide, we can see the agency in Italy can be an independent worker or an employee. So it can be hired by the company. So a double position, the agency can be independent with the agency contract, but it can be also hired from the company. So therefore, in Italy, the relationship between the agents and the principal can be regulated by the civil code and by, if it is required by the agents, it is provided by the national collective bargaining of the industrial sector and of the commercial sector. The terms that the agency contract must be reported in the legal document is that is aimed to clarify the geographical area, that is to clarify the geographical area in the agency contract, is an important terms of the contract itself, because if this aspect is not reported in the contract is a void. The agents in Italy conclude their tax, their business in the name and on behalf of the company. So it's the company that has the representation of the business, not the agents, because it's the company that is entitled to prepare the invoice towards the clients. So on the next slide, we can see what are the duties of the company. First of all, when the relationship of the agency start between the principal and the agents, is the duty to give all documents all the documents the documents for allowed to the agents the possibility to purchase the product, the service of the company. The principal have the duty to keep informing the agents about the commission, the commission that the agents provided during the period of the validity of the agency contract. The principal has the duty to send invoice to the clients every month and to inform the agents every month about the number of the purchasing is concluded thanks to the agent's works. So these are the principle, the main duty that the principal have to observe toward the agents. Here in Italy, the duty of to keep informing the agents of this aspect is being considered by the judge an important point, a point in which the 70% of the trial is as a report as object this aspect. The duty of keep informing the agents of their work, of the work that the agents is executed in the name and on behalf of the company. Other aspect is that the principal has the duty to accept or to refuse the clients that the agents as keep from their activity. So the principal can say, yes, okay, I accept this client. Okay, no, I refuse this client because I don't know. For example, I know this kind of clients, and I know that this client is not didn't pay, and so I can refuse the single proposal made by the agents. So on the next slide, we should see the difference between the Italian regulation and the Spain regulation on this kind of on the agency contract. And we can see that so that there are some difference between Italian and Spain. The most important difference is this. So the most important clause is the clause of the stare del credere. The stare del credere is admitted by Spain regulation, but is strictly forbidden by the Italian regulation. So it's strictly forbidden by Italian regulation. Yeah, the judge has declared, really clarify that this clause is not can use in the adjacent contract if the adjacent contract is governed by Italian law. Furthermore, the clause on the second clause, most that represent a difference between Italy and Spain, but I think not Spain. I think that with the French, for example, I analyze with German, is the clause of right of exclusivity, according to which the principal cannot make use of several agents in the same area and for the same branch of activity at the same time, nor can the agent assume the task of negotiating in the same area and for the same branch of business of several companies in competition together. So, this clause, the right of exclusivity, is given in favor of the agents, because is given in favor of the, is a bilateral clause. It can be considered a bilateral clause in favor of the agents and of the principal. I mean, why this? Because if this clause is introduced in favor of the agents, this clause gives the possibility to the agents to have the exclusivity of a certain area. So I have a sort of non-compete clause. Okay, so the right of exclusivity. But this is an important clause that must be put in the contract, because if this clause is not specified in a contract, the contract can be considered a void by the judge. So it is an important clause that are not similar to the other member states of the Union European, of the European Union. During the adjacent contract, a number of provisions of the Civil Code requires that the agents to fully collaborate with the principal company. So indeed, the agents cannot carry out his business on behalf of other competing companies, and must therefore only protect the interest of the principal company by acting with loyalty and good faith. As long as the adjacent contract is in force, there is therefore a reciprocal exclusivity between principal and agents, whereby neither can compete with the other. So this is the real reason of the clause of the the clause that want to the right of exclusivity. So this is the reason. So to protect the interest of the agents and to protect the interest of the company. The next, in the next slides, we can see il patto, il non-compete clause. That this clause can be is the choice to the party to put in the contract this kind of clause. The non-compete clause we know the non-compete clause, and in Italian is regulated under civil code. There is a limitation of the agents to promote a business in the similar area for the similar company. So if I work with a company in the sector of industry that create in the sector of automotive, when I terminate my relationship with this company, I can't work with a similar company in a certain geographical area we have determined in the contract. This is the reason of the non-compete clause. I think that in every state.
Me quedo tan tranquilo sin.
Okay, we can go on. Have you any questions?
Okay, please, if you have any questions for our speaker, or else we can proceed. But I would like to ask everyone if they can mute themselves during the presentation.
How does it work in your jurisdiction, respective jurisdiction, the agency of contracts?
If you want to join the debate,
there are similar aspects, different aspects.
Okay. This is a bit of a teaser for the Q&A section after the webinar, but as long as you have the approval of our speaker, you can ask questions as of now.
Okay, well, in the Netherlands, you can just agree on the exclusivity by contract. But I see that in certain countries, you actually have that right by law. What do you see in international contracts where you are allowed to agree on exclusivity with the geographical area? Because now with the internet and everything is easily accessible and internationalized, like, do you see that having an impact on the geographical area?
Yeah, I see. When we talk about geographical area, I mean, for example, an agent can't work for a company situated in the north, for example, of Italy. Okay, why? Because if I work as an agent for a company based, for my company based in Milan, for example, I can't work as agents for another company based in Turin. So I will have the limitation of the possibility to carry out my my work in the geographical area near, that is near by the company in relation to at the moment I work. Okay, in this we mean geographical area. So this means that I should to carry out my my work in the center of Italy, on the south of Italy. Of course, for this limitation, the agent has the right to be indemnized in money. So if the non-compete clause, the duration, if the duration of the non-compete clause is 2 years, the agents must be remunerated in money for example, the 30% of the fee that the company is usual to recognize to the work to the agents for normally during is a relationship. Okay, so in Italy the non-compete clause works in this way. It's quite similar as an employee. When you hire an employee, when you do an employment contract and define employment contract, you regulate this aspect.
Yes, exactly. Okay, thank you.
Why? Because in I don't know, but in your jurisdiction is not used this kind of clause.
Yeah, it's actually quite similar
Okay.
in practice, but usually that's agreed by contracts.
Yes, but I think that this aspect, some aspects are similar because the adjacent contract is regulated by a directive by the European Union that every member state can be implemented in their state, respective states.
Exactly, because it was like a maximum of 2 years for a non-compete after the end of an agreement, right?
Yeah, not in Italy 5.
In Italy 5, okay. And do you see a difference in like particular industries where like in one industry it's normal to have?
No, it's not difference between industries because the non-compete is regulated by Code Civil, by the Italian Civil Code.
Okay.
So because we have in Italy, we have the Italian Civil Code that provide the general law in the civil sector.
Oh, so that is mandatory law and you are not allowed to deviate from that by contract.
Yeah, and then we have for the labor law, we have the national collective bargaining. So the adjacent contract is considered in part commercial law, civil commercial law, and part labor law.
Okay.
In Italy.
Thank you.
Okay, we can move on.
Theodore, please.
See?
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you, Mr.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay, I mean, I would like to understand a point that Miss Guelfi explained about the relationship that might exist between the principal and the agent, who actually, I think she said in Italy, maybe an agent might eventually be an independent or the employee of the company. Unless I misheard what she said, I would like please to understand this using of either an independent or the employee that might be an agent for a company.
It's depend how is the agreement between the party. So the agents is can consider an independent if the contract regulates this aspect and say, yes, okay, I want to be independent. So because I have other company in a relation, I carry out my work as agents, okay? Or if I an employee of the company, okay, I have an employee and I will be applied in a national collective bargaining of the agents.
So it can be both at the same time, right?
Sorry?
It can be both.
It can be both, yes, yes.
Okay, okay, thank you so much.
On the willing of the party, it can be both. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I got it.
While in USA or in other, the agent is free, is an independent worker, in Italy can be both.
Okay.
This is the particularity, and also it can be generate some problem, because if the agent contract is not written well, if you go in a trial, the judge must be qualified the relationship or as an independent or as an employee. As there are some, of course, there are some difference, because if you are an employee, you have some right as a social contribution, as other rights that the national collective bargaining recognized to an employee here in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
So, this represents the 80% of the cause of the in a trial here in Italy.
Okay, thank you so much.
So I'm an independent or an employee. The judge must be qualified the relationship. Okay. Then
thank you so much.
thank you. Then when the agents must be considered an employee, it is not simple to define when the agents can be considered an employee. Of course, the principal must pay really attention to the way of carrying out this relationship with the single agents, because, for example, the agents, if the relationship is according to an independent agent, the principal must pay attention that he can't give instruction to the agents. So the agent's free. The only things that the principal can do is to require how many clients do you develop. It's the only thing. But he can't say, well, you agents, you are obliged to give me a report of the over perspective of the future clients that you bring to my company. So this is important.
So actually, please. Actually, this is you are just pointing out the contradiction that I wanted to raise with my questioning. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's not,
if can I elaborate, please?
Yeah.
I mean, if the agent initially is the employee of the principal, meanwhile, as an employee, you have this subordination link.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which exists between an employee and an employer. Meanwhile, an agent who's supposed to be independent, who is linked with the principal by a contract, you see, I don't know if you get where I'm heading, but I find it very difficult to be at the same time an employee of the principal and an agent. This is my concern, actually.
Yeah, but this is okay. Yeah, the answer that I give you before in advance is the concept remain the same. So the agents can be an employee or an independent, but in the real manage of this relationship, many of the principle, also if the relationship is an independent relationship, used to say to the agents, okay, you have to report me about your business development. This is the wrong of the company, of the principle, if stipulates, if according for an independent agents, okay? So this is wrong by the company, but in Italy, the company, unfortunately, use this contract also in a wrong way. So this is the main reason for which there are a lot of trial in court here in Italy about this aspect, because most of the company use this contract for pay less the agents. So I write that you are independent, but I put in the contract some clause, some way to carry out this kind of work. I write independent, but I ask you some duty typical of an subordinate kind of relationship. And this is a problem here in Italy. This is a problem.
Actually,
and this is the principle, the main problem that the foreign company has to approach the agency contract in Italy. I don't know if I explain.
I think that I get it now. As far as maybe you can tell me that those clauses should be null and void, even if a principal put these clauses with either an employee or an independent to maintain this link of subordination, maybe those clauses should be null and void. Shouldn't they be? I mean, in Italy in particular.
No, I don't understand. Sorry. Don't understand. Yeah, in Italy, this aspect is of independent, of subordinate of the agents, for qualifying agents, is not so clear, because is the judge on this point decide every time. It's depend on the case and of the modality that this kind of contract is carried out effectively. So I can say that in Italy, this contract is not always used correctly, because I write that you are independent agents, but then I apply to you the mechanism of subordinate relationship. We say in Italy we say un uso distorto.
Un uso distorto?
Un uso distorto of this kind of contract. And so we have the trade unions, we are in Italy, really strong to protect the right of the agency category, because in Italy un uso distorto of this kind of contract.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you to Mr. Aminu for the question.
Okay, we can switch.
On.
Oh no, questo we have John explain. We can go, okay. When the agents or the principal can withdraw the contract is for just cause. I mean, okay. Is for just cause. I mean this. Sorry that I was. So the general rule for terminating an agency contract for an defined period is that the withdrawing party must give the other party notice. However, if one of the parties terminates the contract without giving due notice to the other party, it must pay compensation in lieu of notice, which is calculated on the average of the commission earned in the year preceding the termination. But when is there a just cause for a withdrawal? How can manage a withdrawal for just cause? So also this aspect is regulated both in part by the civil code and by the national contract, the national collective bargaining. The difference between the civil code and the national collective bargaining is this: the way to determine the commission that must have recognized to the agents. So the typical example of which an agent can withdraw the contract for just cause is, for example, if the principal is able to withdraw the contract, the agency contract for just cause, is for example, if there are a violation of exclusivity for the performance of activity for competing companies by the agents. In this case, the principal have the right to withdraw the agency contract. On the other hand, for example, the agents have the right to withdraw the agency contract for just cause if the principal didn't pay the commission due. So these are the main aspect in which in relation to the withdrawal of the agency contract for just cause is allowed by the Italian law. This aspect is very discussed here in Italy because the national collective bargaining apply a method and a way of determining the commission that must be recognized to the agents in a better way, so in favor of the agents. While the civil code states only a general principle, but the civil code didn't analyze the mechanism of which the commission must be recognized to the agents. So on the next slide we see we can go on. Okay, so when the principal is obliged to pay the commission, in Italy, the duty of the principal to pay the commission is recognized when the principal accepts the clients that the agents give to the company. If the principal accepts, the commission must be recognized to the agents. On the other hand, here there are some questions because another party of the judges say that the principal must recognize the commission to the agents not when the principal accepts the clients. So when the principal send the invoice to the clients, but only when the contract enter into by the principal and agents must be executed. So must be executed, that means that the principal have just see it means that the principal have just obtained a payment for merchandising, for example, a payment from the clients. So this aspect is important because here when the agents arise a dispute with the principal, say the main aspect of the principal is, yes, okay, but you principal didn't pay me. Why? Because you accept the clients. Why don't you recognize me the commission? And the company say, I don't recognize you the commission because the clients didn't pay me. Again, so if the clients didn't pay me, I can't recognize to the agents the commission. This is that the civil code explain this aspect in a certain way, but the interpretation of the judge say about this aspect in a different way, resolve the decision in a different way. And this is the second important aspect that we have in Italian. So we have a civil code, but the judge have the power to give the interpretation to the civil code. And in the most of the case, the interpretation that the judge states with their declaration, with the sentences, is more important that the civil code regulates. We can go on, Theodore. Okay, so we say what I have just explaining about the when the principal is obliged to pay the commission. And we conclude. Okay, this is regulate another aspect because if the agency contract is resolved, the principal have to recognize the commission for the clients that for the business that is developing after the termination of the relationship between the agents and the principal. Yes, for the Italian law, yes, the principal must recognize this commission. It isn't important if the relationship is terminated between the agents and the principal. If the business is developed after the termination, but is developed thanks to the clients that the agents give to give to the company. In this case, the agents has the right to be paid with this commission. And on the last slide, we see, okay, this is the other important aspect that the most of the foreign company, when come in Italy to apply this contract, didn't observe. Is the obligation if both in the case of independent agents, both in the case in the subordinate relationship, the company have the duty to register the agents to an ASARCO. L'ENASARCO is a social, is a previdenza complementare, is the entity which the company must pay the social contribution to the agents, l'ENASARCO. So it is important that a foreign company that comes in Italy and that have a relationship with the agents with an Italian agents, must write the Italian agents to an ASARCO, always. Or if the agency contract is governed by Italian law. So I mean, if I have Spanish agents that come in Italy and that provide its relationship, its work in Italy, in the state of Italy state, the foreign company must register the Spanish, for example, agents to an ASARCO. So this is a strictly duty. So you have to pay the social contribution in Italy if the activity is carried out in Italy. An ASARCO is a legal entity of a private law. The agents must be, because this is an obligation imposed by the Italian law. Also, it is important to say that as an ASARCO has a specific law. An ASARCO have a specific law. So there are no national social contribution. It's a specific entity for the social contribution of the agents. This is not present in every union member state. This is a peculiarity of the Italian legislation about the agency contract. Okay, so I finished my presentation. I hope to be clear because are not so simple to explain this issue in English, because the legislation about the agency contract in Italy are very particular and are very, for a certain aspect, different from the other legislation of the Union of the European Union. Some aspects are similar, the concept, but then there are a lot of difference. And for a foreign company for the foreign company that comes here in Italy, it's difficult to draft a legal document and to know the obligation with the national authority in Italy.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mrs. Guelfi. I think, first of all, applause are in order. So if you can unmute yourselves and applaud our speaker for today, I would very much appreciate it. Thank you. I will start.
Thank you to you. I don't know if there are other questions that I can.
I want to dispel your worries, Mrs. Guelfi. I think you did a very good job of outlining the differences, some very striking differences between the two systems, as well as some similarities, but also the peculiarities that you mentioned. For example, the fact that this situation with Nazarco only applies to Italy. And I wanted to ask you if we can open the Q&A. What about Spain? There's nothing similar in Spain, such an entity.
Hmm? Yes, I don't.
Did you get my question?
No, I didn't listen.
Okay, so
Sorry.
you emphasize the fact that there's a peculiarity in Italian legislation regarding the Nazarco entity. Is there something, or was it at some point, something similar in Spain? Or
No, in Spain, there are no, there isn't a legal entity as an Nazarco. It's a peculiarity of the Italian state. Yes, because there is a reason. The reason is linked to the question that the colleague posed me before, because in Italy the agents can be or independent or as an employee. So this of course can create a problem under the social contribution to the nation, because I can say before, l'uso distorto of this kind of contracts say that, okay, you are independent, the agents didn't pay the social contribution, for example. In this way, the state is sure that the social contribution is paid. It doesn't important if you are independent or an employee. The social contribution have to pay to the state. For this reason, born the Nazarco. The Nazarco born in the 1998, I think, here in Italy. Okay, before the 1998, the Nazarco didn't exist here in Italy.
Thank you very much for clearing this up for us. And as we have some new figures amongst us, some new members who are joining their first Wolep webinar, I strongly encourage you to join the debate. Maybe Mr. Čurković from Croatia, if I'm not mistaken. Hello, Mr. Čurković. We're glad to have you with us.
Yeah, I first want to thank Ms. Guelfi for her presentation, and it was a very nice presentation. My question would be regarding the, every employee has to pay something to the country he's employed in to pay for taxes and social care and everything. And when you said that agents can be employees, but they also can be self-employed, if I got you right, do they then pay those taxes and all the other obligations to the country over that Nazarco?
Yes, other obligation under the taxes profile is that the activity is carried out on Italy, for example. The agents pay the tax in Italy. Of course, also the company, also the foreign company must pay a part of tax in relation to the activity carried out in Italy, must pay the tax in Italy, of course. Because in the agency contract, in this matter, in the agency, there are are not so easy applicable the convention of the double imposition that's according to European Union law. So, for example, France and Italy have a convention, as a bilateral convention for the double tax imposition. I mean, in a certain case that this convention specified, regulates, a French company can't pay the tax in Italy, for example, but must be a convention, a bilateral convention between the states. Okay. As in general, if the activity is carried out in Italy by the agents, both the agents and the foreign company must pay the tax in Italy. And this is a problem because the tax in Italy are very high.
And you also have a new government. It was just
we hope with this new government that we have just elected here in Italy. I don't know what are the program in employment matter. So we have the new minister that say, yes, when we cut off the tax of the employment on the employment relationship for the company, because here in Italy, the problem is the cost of the company that must be paid to hire a person.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no.
Sorry for interrupting you. We have another question from Mr. Aminu, and I'll read it. I also sent it within the chat. It seems that Italian laws and regulations are very restrictive and protective of nationals and the local companies, Mr. Aminu states. What would happen if those laws are in contradiction with EU's or other international laws?
Sorry, one moment. It seems that Italian laws and regulations are very restrictive and protective of national and local companies. What would happen if those laws are in contradiction with the European Union's or other international laws? But Italian's law are not very, it's not correct to say that it are very restrictive and protective on local companies, but I'll say with the agents is protective. Because the judge here in Italy condemned the company for the use, for the non-performing use of this kind of contract. So I can consider the Italian law not so in contradiction with the European or international law, because it protects the agents, the la persona fisica, the physician person of the agents. So the Italian law protects, because I say we have a national collective for the agents' employment. So is protective in favor of the agents. The problem is the non-correct use that the company do when decide to apply this kind of contract. And the Italian judge condemn this non-correct use by the Italian company. And the Italian company is scared to use this contract. So they prefer to use autonomous collaboration, for example, that in Italian are another kind of self-employee.
Thank you, and I need another volunteer.
Say yes, okay, you can open a VAT and to work with a VAT. The Italian. Okay.
Please go on, Mrs. Guelfi, if you want to complete your sentence. If not, I need another volunteer for another question in this Q&A, maybe Mr. Carlos Anton, who will also.
I want to observe one thing. My email address is I can write the actual email of my firm.
Yeah, please provide it in the chat.
So in this way, if there are other questions, you can write me.
I also shared the last slide, so our guests also have the contact. They will also be sent to the presentation after we conclude the webinar. We also join. We are also joined by Mr. Kamil Bechta. So welcome if you have a question for our speaker, or maybe you want to share some impressions of the webinar. Feel free to unmute yourself and talk directly. Another question, please. If there are no more questions, I will give Mrs. Guelfi the opportunity to have the final remarks. But I also extend the invitation to our other members to propose a topic of the next webinar or for the next couple of webinars. You can contact us, either me or Adelina, and propose a topic related to your professional specializations, and we can move on from there. So, Mrs. Guelfi, thank you again, and please provide your conclusions, maybe some thoughts on networking some more, maybe getting to know a bit better your colleagues who addressed the questions, and maybe even share some projects together.
Thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone. And if you have some questions or any case or any necessity about the agency contract for here in Italy, we can discuss the single aspect. And so I really thank you for listening to me, and I hope to be clear in my presentation. That's all.
Grazie mille, because you are Italian. So thank you again. You may also be interested to know that we will send you, as I told you before, the presentation, but also you will be sent diplomas for attending the webinar, so certificates of participation, but also we will upload the recording to our YouTube channel. So in case some collaborators of yours or even yourself, if you want to view again the webinar, maybe point out some specificities from it, you can watch it again on our YouTube channel. So that would be all for today. Thank you very much, and may you have a very pleasant evening, and see you again in the near future. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Theo and Adelina. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.